الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميعا. This is going to be a diary of the reality of Salafi publication, group/cult, from years of observation and other individuals' observation of Salafi publication, group/cult. And the reason why I'm saying group/cult is because of their actions and the methodology that they chose to take. So today I'd like to cover the realities of Salafi publication. It's very clear from their group that groups that are studied from past to present, that there has been many groups that appeared that are very similar to Salafi publications group. This is their group, and their behavior and positions they take is nothing new. This is not something that has came about in today's time. There's other groups, sections, sects, or individuals who have followers that also have the same type of behavior. Some people have described, related to the group, is their followers and the condition of their followers. My observation is going to be about the behavior that comes from the followers of Salafi publication, that its origin of the behavior or the thinking, that it's not rooted in Kitab or Sunnah, rather yet it's related or connected to the followers or the individual Abu Khadija's associate from the UK, known as Abu Khadija Abdul-Wahid or Abdul-Wahid. Also related to them, this group that associates in some of their patterns and controlling their followers. One thing I like to note, it's the first thing I want to add in this diary of mine, or daily diary, but about it. So when you find from Abu Khadija and its followers, there's a certain type of pattern that's very similar to the patterns of cults and followers of cults. Mind control, the mentality of the followers who build their feelings or their emotions based upon rubbish, based upon hypocrisy, or based upon hearsay, based upon opinions of individuals who are not scholars in Islam, based on opinions of people's whims and desires, and not based on Kitab and Sunnah. For example, the followers of Donald Trump followers, if you look at them, that their base, their views, or their following of Donald Trump based on emotions, conspiracy theories, nothing that is based on facts or actual facts. And that is some of the resemblance of, or those are some of the characteristics of the people who follow cult or cult-like groups. Just like Salafi publication followers, for example, they will make tabdi' of people who will claim to be Salafi. You will find them being harsh with people who are Salafi who do not agree with the behavior, but you will find them being kind and soft with the disbelievers, for example. You will find them being harsh and using foul language dealing with scholars, Muslim scholars who are known for knowledge, who are from the major scholars who had refuted their behaviors, their false principles that contradict the Sharia law. So you'll find from their followers of Salafi publication with its guru, Abu Khadija, that they follow him based upon whims and desires. It's not facts, it's not built on facts, it's not built on principles coming from the book and the sunnah. It's not based upon anything except for hearsay. A lot of hearsay, a lot of blind following, a lot of conjectures, a lot of assumptions, a lot of following of opinions of Sheikh Rabi al-Maqali and Sheikh Ubaid al-Jabri, and viewing that every member of their group or anybody who proclaims to be Salafi must follow blindly Sheikh Rabi al-Madkhali in his camp, which includes Sheikh Ubaid al-Jabri. So Sheikh Ubaid, and Sheikh Rabi is two of the scholars that they use as tools of authority in their group. Meaning that if they tell one of their followers, they would tell their followers, Sheikh Rabi said this, or Sheikh Ubaid al-Jabri said this. And if you don't take their view or follow them, that you are a innovator, that you are outside the folds of Salafiyya, that you are a unclear Salafi. And if you don't take these positions or follow these two scholars blindly, their opinion, that they will put you outside the folds of Salafiyya or say you are unclear. And any other scholar that's from major scholars that are known, like Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Sheikh Muhsin Nabad, Sheikh Luhidan, Sheikh Salih Suhaimi, Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, the Mufti, so on and so forth, they would regard these scholars that you could take from them in Aqidah, but related to minhaj or methodology, that they have mistakes or they don't know. So for example, if somebody comes along and say Sheikh Salih Fawzan has said this, for example, there is no Imam of Jarh wa Ta'dil, their followers will turn around and say, well, Sheikh Fawzan doesn't know minhaj, he doesn't know the conditions of peoples, he doesn't have this type of knowledge. Only Sheikh Rabi al-Madkhali and Sheikh Ubaid al-Jabri have this special insight, this special knowledge. And this is the cult-like behavior of them. So they will use Sheikh Rabi and Sheikh Ubaid al-Jabri as the measuring stick and as authority in the group to keep their followers inclined. So for example, if their head, Abu Khadija, makes an error or makes a mistake, or some scholar comes and refute him or refute some principles, they will go and say, well, Sheikh Rabi al-Madkhali praises him. Sheikh Rabi praises him. So this is a sign that they're showing that they're using Sheikh Rabi al-Madkhali as an authority and as a measuring stick and as a fear factor. Meaning that if you don't obey Sheikh Rabi in this praise, or you don't follow him or blindly follow his opinion, that your religion is in danger. That your religion is in danger. That your Salafiyya is in danger. And that's synonym for your religion is in danger. So they use this type of authority, or Sheikh Rabi as an authority, or Ubaid, or whoever is in their camp, as an authority to keep their followers in place. So anybody who questions Sheikh Rabi', anybody who doesn't follow him or follow his opinion, even from the Kibar Ulama, they doubt them. And even if it's from the Kibar Ulama who doesn't believe that Sheikh Rabi' al-Mahqali is the Imam of Jar wa Ta'dil, and that includes Sheikh Salih Fawzan, the Mufti also of Saudi Arabia, Sheikh Salih Luhidan, Sheikh Salih Suhaimi, and other remaining scholars from the Kibar Ulama or who sits on the Lajna of Fatawa in Saudi, none of them believe, for example, that Sheikh Rabi' is the Imam of Jar wa Ta'dil, right? For example. And when it comes to refuting certain individuals and certain principles that they have made up and is refuted, or these questions or this idea that they have is refuted by the scholars that are known for knowledge, then they would say about these particular scholars or from the major scholars that they don't understand the minhaj like Sheikh Rabi understand minhaj. They don't have the insight, special knowledge like Sheikh Rabi has this insight and special knowledge. And this is extreme, and this is gulu. So they use these tactics for their followers. They use these particular tactics for their followers. And this is how they keep their followers in line. Recently, I heard one of their followers, when I brought up a lecture by Sheikh Salih Suhaimi, Sheikh Falah Ismail, rahimahullah, Sheikh Ibrahim Rahali, a visit in the UK, which a lecture in UK where Salafi publication Abu Khadija was telling the people do not go there to listen to the Shaykh. And the Shaykh refuted these type of shubahat, these doubts, and he, in the talk, in the question, refuted the concept of clear Salafi and unclear Salafi. So one of the followers of Salafi pubs, by the name of Abu Sa'id al-Jahl, he said that Sheikh Salih Suhaimi and the remaining scholars in this muhadara, in this lecture, that they are all misguided. And this is the typical attitude of the followers of Abu Khadija and Salafi publication. When they find somebody from the major scholar, refute them, refute their doubts, refute their false principles, refute their misunderstandings that they spread as a disease in the Salafi community. When the scholars refute them, now all of a sudden they start saying they are misguided, and they are lost, and they are astray, and they are ignorant. This is the attitude of Salafi publication. So, from this type of behavior of the followers of Salafi publication, that has become the norm with them. It is the norm, and they have an idea and a concept that whoever Muslim that does not come through them is not Salafi. If he doesn't get the okay for them, he is not Salafi. If he doesn't go to their masjid, he is not Salafi. If they don't listen to their particular du'at, callers, they're not Salafi. And these are the traits and characteristics of the Hizbiyah that many of them have, that they call to directly and indirectly for years. For years. And why I'm saying Salafi publication? Because their group, their attitude has transferred here in the US, where many individuals who come to Dawat al-Salafiyya, that is their introduction to Dawat al-Salafiyya from these individuals and their camp. So the first thing they do when they come to Dawat al-Salafiyya is they learn not who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not Tawheed, not the books of Sheikh Muhammad Abdul-Wahid rahimahullah. Rather yet they learn who is off the minhaj and who is on the minhaj. Why? These are the things that they instruct their followers, who's on the minhaj and who's off the minhaj. Why? Because they want to show them who are the people they have to align themselves with. It's not about you clarifying the truth from falsehood. It's about aligning themselves with their gurus, their leaders, being indoctrinated. Who are they're letting them know who are the peoples they are allowed to be indoctrinated with. Okay? They learn to be indoctrinated. Then they learn certain things and are taught certain things that are bizarre. You know? One of their manuscripts, they have a manuscript. Some people might not know it, but they have a manuscript. And you look at the followers of Salafi publications, whether they're in US, whether in UK, they have a manuscript. Their manuscript could be found on Salafi publications official website. And you will find that all their followers have this manuscript or use the website for their manuscript to be indoctrinated. If you look on Facebook, if you look at the hardcore followers of them, you'll all see they have a link to their about page for websites is Salafi Publications website, because that's their manuscript. It's not the Kitab, it's not the Sunnah. Then you will find from the majority of their followers that this group, they're not producing they're not producing al-shuyukh. First and foremost, it takes a scholar to produce a scholar, number one. Number two, that they are not producing anything. You don't find with them like strong students of knowledge. They are not producing any students of knowledge. They're not producing any type of scholarship. Rather yet, what you see what they're producing is that people who are very much informed and memorized to their doctrine. People who are very informed and memorized to their doctrine, they false principles, and those people who are allowed to indoctrinate them, meaning they're people that they follow. So we're fine with them, with this thinking and with this attitude that whoever is not indoctrinated by them, or whoever, for example, that claims to be Salafi or not with them, for example, that if this person has knowledge, for example, Arabic language, for example, study with different scholars, for example, and it's not with their camp, all of them are a threat. All of them are not a threat. And this is why they indoctrinate them when people come into their folds, who is Salafi and who is not Salafi. Who is a clear Salafi, who's an unclear Salafi, meaning that who accepts their doctrine and who do not accept their doctrine. Who promotes their doctrine and who do not promote their doctrine. This is what is really implied with them when they say these things. So, for example, me, I studied in Egypt, Abdul-Wahid Abadawi, Allah. I studied with different scholars in Egypt. I studied in different institutes. I learned the Arabic language. I learned things about Quran. I learned usul tafsir. I learned mustalah hadith. I learned about fiqh. I learned about Islamic law. I learned about many things, for example. So when they meet a person like me, I'm a threat, for example. A person like myself is a threat. Especially if I don't make alliance with them. And if I don't agree with them, for example. And their biggest enemies to them and their group, the biggest threat to them are the people who are with them and left. This is one of the biggest threats outside of scholars who refute them. The biggest threat within the US and Canada are people who are with them and left. People who are with them and left, and they attain some type of knowledge. They attain some type of knowledge, or they grasp some type of or they moved up in knowledge without them and without their help. These are the people that they really despise the most. Alright? Another person who is ignorant of the religion, who doesn't really have a good commanding of the Arabic language, who doesn't know about Arabic, who has not familiarized with the Islamic sciences or its peoples, and they leave their group, they're not a big threat to them. Why? Because even though they can say these peoples are ignorant or they're misguided, they really don't have anything to back them up. And this is something you will find with their followers in general, that they don't become learned people. They don't become learned students of knowledge. You find with some of their group, they don't become learned people. Only very few of them does. Alright? Only a few of them does. And when they do acquire some type of religious knowledge from its sciences, that they must align themselves with them. Alright? So for example, there's a person by Abdul-Wahid Nelson. He's a person who graduated from Medina University. He was in line with their doctrine, right? He was a graduate, but he had a very filthy mouth, right? Had a very filthy mouth. And there's many recordings of him on YouTube where he spilling out hate, hatred, fighting peoples. So they took him under their wings. Even though he had a filthy mouth, he didn't fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the video of him on YouTube where he's telling the brother while he's in, I believe in Mecca, at the Kaaba, he's going to punch him in his face, something like that. Some wordings like this. Or he had punched him in his face in front of the prophets, or in front of the Kaaba, or in front of the Haram, I believe, something like this. Right? So this is one of their students, one of their personalities. Even though he had bad manners, he didn't fear Allah, that this was somebody who they took in their camp until he was exposed for the years that he studied in Medina with his stepdaughter, that he was molesting her. Alright? And when this happened, their camp didn't call police, didn't inform the police, did not allow him to come out, talk about it. Rather that, they allowed him to escape. Alright? They allow him to escape. And they try to hide it under the rug. So even some of the students who will graduate from the universities, even if they don't have knowledge, or they don't have even if they don't have the fear of Allah, but as long as they are in line with their doctrine and propagating their doctrine, they bring them in. So it's not built upon taqwa, or the fear of Allah. It's not their move is not built on knowledge, but yet it's built on who could propagate their doctrine the best and adhere to their doctrine the best, their dogma. This is them. And it is at a time now, maybe I do as a part 2 for this video, but they are in the position now where they're refuting each other. There's somewhat of a inside turmoil. There's somewhat of an idea now with them that people are leaving them slowly but surely. And you're going to find, Allah knows best, sometime in the near future, that sooner or later they're going to be at each other's throats. What we see from amongst them now, that the people who are learned, who are refuting them in their doubts and their shubahat, that some people are getting the message. But those people who are fixed on their doctrine, that they are doubling it down. And how they are doubling it down is not by acquiring more Islamic knowledge. No, because their group is not about Islamic knowledge. It's not built on any principles from Kitab and Sunnah. It's built upon their doctrine, which is built upon hearsay and blind following, and more hearsay and conspiracy theories, and more hearsay and more blind following. So instead, what you're going to find with their group is that they're not going to find more scholars to support them. They're not going to increase in their Islamic knowledge. What they're going to do now, because they're losing numbers, they're going to double down on ignorance. They're going to double down on name calling. They're going to double down on takfir. They're going to double down on tabdiya. They're going to double down on name calling and carrying tales and hearsay and causing more division and slander. That's what they're going to double down on, because that's all they have. That's what their movement was built on. It wasn't built on kitab and sunnah and knowledge. That's why they haven't produced any student of knowledge themselves. They haven't produced any scholars themselves. They haven't produced any ulama themselves. They don't even have no real ulama with them except Sheikh Rabi al-Makhali and Sheikh Ubaid al-Jabi, and that's it. Any other scholar that will openly talk about them or refute them, or any scholar from the major scholars who refute their principles, sooner or later they're going to abandon or attack these particular scholars, which they are right now, like Sheikh Salih Suhaimi and Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas. You know, there's somebody by the name of Anwar Wright, who's a graduate from Medina. He's in Philadelphia, New York, and Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas refuted Abu Khadija, refuted him, right, and his principles. And Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas is Dr. Alama. You got a miskin like Anwar White from Philadelphia who was caught in a bar, a restaurant that has a bar with his kids. He made a recording of some white person telling him off because he's Muslim, but that exposed that Anwar White, who's supposed to be a student of knowledge, that he's taking his kids to a place that have a bar, for example. And we know in Islam, a restaurant has a bar, we don't eat there. Especially for the imam and the shuyukh and tulab al-ilm, they don't eat in these places. Why? Because they are a qudwa, example. Besides that, you have Anwar Wright, after Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas refute Abu Khadija, you have Anwar Wright responding and retaliating and responding. Abu Khadija cannot refute. Abu Khadija don't have the knowledge, so he has to get some stooges like Anwar White to reply back to what Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas. And this is their etiquettes. This is their etiquettes. This is who they are. These are the type of people they are. So instead of establishing some knowledge, what they're going to do is they're going to just try to stick together and double down in their ignorance. And that's all you're going to see from them. They're going to double down in hearsay. They're going to double down in name calling. They're going to double down in making tabdiya. They're going to double down in putting people outside the folds of Salafiyya. They're going to double down in the name calling and the labeling and the splitting. They're going to double down on these things because that's all they have. They don't have anything else with them until they start refuting each other. I hope that concludes for now, because I have some more things to add about them that we will do later on another time, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. Please subscribe to our YouTube page, and for more content, please look us up online on the website islamfinance.space. Barakallahu.